Hey everybody, it's Teresa. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to make a lariat necklace and a pair of earrings today. It's been a minute since I made a lariat necklace, and y'all know how much I enjoy making lariats. And I'm going to use some of the beads that came in the most recent Potomac Beads Treasure Edition subscription box. It's the one for February 2024. It's called Everlasting Embrace. I'll put a link in the corner of this video and in the description box below to the unboxing video I did for this subscription, where I go over everything that came in the box in case you want to check it out. I'll also put a link in the description box below to the page on the Potomac Beads website that will tell you about how both of the subscription boxes that they have work and where you would go to sign up for either one or both if you would be interested in it. And here I've got the 6mm purple crazy lace gemstone beads that came in the box. And here I've got the lavender 6mm Potomac pearls that came in the box. I've got some 11-0 Miyuki seed beads that I'm going to use to space out the beads. These are not the galvanized silver that I usually use, the bright silver. These are more of an antique silver color seed beads. I'll find the link to what the exact color is and put it in the description box below. I've got some pieces of my 22 gauge German style wire. I don't know if that'll either be too much or not enough. I'm not real sure yet. And here I've got a mixture of things. I've got 2 of the tulip beads that came in the box. I think I've got 14 of the little 2mm Potomac crystal bicones. Amethyst is the color on those in there. And I've got 1 of the lavender beads. I've got a large ring from my stash. I've got a couple of ball head pins. I've got a 6mm jump ring and a 4mm jump ring. 2 2x2 crimp tubes and 2 wire guardians. And in here is what I'm going to use for my earrings. I've got 2 of the tulip beads, 2 of the lavender pearls, 4 of the bicones, some seed beads, a couple of ball head pins, and 2 of the ear wires that came in the box. I'm going to be using this Potomac Beads beading cable that we got in, I don't know, it was a few boxes ago, I think. I'm not sure which box it was, but it's not been many boxes ago that we got this. So I'm going to be using this. I've got my bead stoppers. I'm going to be using my chain nose pliers, my tweezer pliers, my round nose pliers, both pairs of my bent chain nose pliers, both pairs of my crimping pliers, and both pairs of my cutters. And I have my little New Orleans shot glass to put my wires in when I cut them off. I think that's everything. I'll try to find links and put links to everything I'm using in the description box below, everything that didn't come in the box. So hold on, I'll get some of this out of the way and I'll be back. Okay, I've got some of this out here and I'm going to start. First I'm going to take my ball head pin and put one of my tulip beads on here. And I'm going to make a wrapped loop. So I'm going to take my pliers, go to the very tip of the pliers, bend the wire over at a 90-degree angle, take my round nose pliers and put them in the crook of the bend. Round nose pliers facing me. I'm going to bend the wire back until it hits the bead. I'll rotate the pliers till they're facing the table. Take the shorter piece of wire under here, or not the shorter piece, but this piece of wire under here, so it hits the bottom of the tool. I'm going to kink the wire back until the loop is centered over the bead. Take my bent chain nose pliers and hold on to my loop. Bring this wire down a little bit. I'm going to take my other pair of bent chain nose pliers and start to wrap. I'll make sure to get that first wrap under the bottom of the loop and not over the top of the bottom of the loop, which I do quite often. Wrap till there's no more room to wrap. I want to try to get that kind of tight against there so my tulip bead won't spin. And now I'm going to take my cutters that I use for craft wire and head pins and eye pins. I use a different pair of cutters for bead stringing wire. Cut that extra piece of wire off. And now I'm going to take these crimping pliers, and I don't think I'm in frame. And I use that little part there at the end, the little half circles at each end to tuck in the burrs when I cut off wire. And I'm going to tuck in my little burr. And I'm going to stop for a minute and go back and see if I was in frame at all for that. I think I might have been out of frame. Hold on. Okay, I think that was all right. I don't think I've wandered too far out of frame. I've adjusted my camera a little bit here, so maybe that won't happen anymore. Now I'm going to take my piece of 22 gauge German style wire, and I'm going to go down. This is probably about 4 inches or 3.5 inches, I'm not sure. I'm going to go down probably about 1.5 inches or so. Bend the wire over at a 90-degree angle. Take my round nose pliers and put them in the crook of the bend. Round nose pliers facing me. Bend the wire back until it hits the tool. Rotate the pliers till they're facing the table. Take the shorter piece of wire up and under here until it hits the bottom of the tool. Kink the wire back until the loop is centered over the wire. Take my bent chain nose pliers and hold on to my loop. Bring this wire down a little bit. I'll wrap the shorter piece of wire around the longer piece of wire about 3 times. Now I'm going to take my cutters and cut off my extra piece of wire. I'm going to take my little lavender pearl here, put it on here. And then I'm going to take my pliers and I'm going to go to the very tip of the pliers. I'm going to bend the wire over at a 90-degree angle. Take my round nose pliers and put them in the crook of the bend. Bend the wire back until it hits the bead. Rotate the pliers till they're facing the table. Take this part under here until it hits the bottom of the tool. Cock the wire back until the loop is centered over the bead. And that usually stands my little piece of wire almost straight up there. I'm going to take my bent chain nose pliers and hold on to my loop. Bring this wire down a little bit. Take my other pair of bent chain nose pliers and start to wrap. I'm just going to wrap till there's no more room to wrap. Do that, I can get those close enough. There, that's better. Now I'm going to take my cutters, cut off my extra wire. I'm going to take my crimping pliers and tuck in my little burrs. Okay, now I'm going to make some simple loops with these bicones. And I'm using 22 gauge wire, and I usually use 20 gauge wire when I make simple loops. But I was having a hard time getting these tiny little bicones on the 20 gauge wire because it's thicker, and I think this will be fine because it's German style wire, so it's half hard, so I don't think the loops will come open. So I'm going to go, I've got about I guess it's about a 5-inch piece of wire. I'm going to go to the end here, and I'm going to bend over at a 90-degree angle. I'm going to take my cutters, and I don't know that I need to cut much of that off because I need to leave about 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to cut off the very tip so that I have a good flush cut. Now I'm going to take my round nose pliers. I'm going to start turning my loop down here farther into the round nose pliers just to get it started. Then I'm going to go to the very tip of my round nose pliers and finish rolling my loop because I want it to be a tiny, tiny little bitty loop. Because I guess because these are tiny little bitty bicones. I don't know, but I decided I wanted my loops to be very tiny here. So I'll make sure I get it closed really well. Now I'm going to take one of my little tiny bicones, put it on here. And I'm going to go just a little bit above the bead so that I don't crack my bead. These bicones are very delicate. I'm going to bend over at a 90-degree angle. I'm going to take my cutters. I'm going to cut off and leave about 1/4 of an inch of the wire. Now I'm going to do like I did before. I'm going to go to the very end here, and I'm going to start down here, and then I'm going to go to the very tip and finish wrapping my loop, because I want it to be a tiny, tiny little bitty loop. And my loops are almost never facing the same way when I get done, so I just take both pairs of pliers and just turn them around so that they're both facing the same way. Now I'm going to take this same piece of wire, and I'm going to go to the end again here, bend over at a 90-degree angle. I'm going to cut off a little this time. I'm going to cut off and leave about 1/4 of an inch. Take my pliers, start my loop, then go to the very tip and roll it back, make a tiny little loop. Now I'm going to take my pliers and I'm going to open this loop that I just made. I'm going to put on this link that I already made. And I'm going to close this loop. Well, close this loop back. Make real sure to get that good and closed, because I don't want my piece falling apart here. Now I'm going to take another bicone, put it on here, take my pliers, go a little bit above the bead, bend over at a 90-degree angle, cut off and leave about 1/4 of an inch of the wire. Take my round nose pliers and start to roll back my loop, and then go to the very tip and roll until I get my loop made and closed up. And they are naturally not facing the same way, so I'm going to take both pairs of pliers. Just have to be real careful here and not crack your bicones, because you can get in there too close and crack your bicones when you're doing this. Try to get them to face the same way. And now I'll do one more, and then I'll do the rest of them off camera. I'll tell you what I'm going to do when I get ready to do the rest of it off camera. I'm going to go to the very end here, bend over, 90-degree angle, cut off and leave about 1/4 of an inch of the wire, around those pliers, go to the end of the wire, start my loop, and then go to the tip of the pliers and roll the rest of my loop. And that one's not good at all. I'm going to go in here and kink my neck back a little bit and see if I can salvage this. Okay, that's okay. Now I'm going to take my pliers, I'm going to open up my loop. You can make all these and connect them together after you get them all made, but I just find it easier to connect them as I go. Once you get that bead on there, it's a little bit harder to open and close your loop well with that bead in the way. Now I'll put another bicone on here. Now I'm going to go a little bit above the bead, bend over at a 90-degree angle, leave about 1/4 of an inch of the pin or the wire, hang around those pliers, start rolling back my loop, and go to the very tip and roll the rest of my loop. I don't think I left enough of the pin that time. I don't know if I have enough to do this or not. I might have to. I might need to cut a little bit of that off. That didn't make sense, did it? I said I didn't leave enough of the loop. Now I'm cutting some of it off, but I might have to settle for a smaller loop this time. Okay, I think that'll be okay. Now I'm going to straighten up my loops here because they're not facing the same way. Okay, now I'm going to make 2 chains. I'm going to make one that's 5 bicones long and one that's 9 bicones long. And when I get that done, I'll come back and connect, and I'm going to do another one of these tulip beads in a wrapped loop. And then when I come back, I'll connect all this together, which is going to be kind of my focal part of my lariat. So I'll be back. Okay, I've got both of my little chains made here and both of my tulip beads wrapped. And I'm going to take my pliers and open the end of my loop here and thread on my tulip bead. Close that back. And I'm going to do the same thing with this chain. Open up my loop, thread on my tulip bead, close it back up. So I've got that part done. Now I'm going to take, well, first I went ahead and strung up the body of my lariat, my very, very long, I'm going to have to zoom back out here so y'all can see it, my very, very, very long lariat. I usually make lariats about 32 inches or so, and I measured this and my ring and all, and it came to about 6 inches or so. So I've got about, I think maybe 25.5 inches here, so I think that's long enough. I used all of the pearls that I had. That's all of them. And then I've got 23 of the gemstones here. I just did some color blocking here. So now I'm going to crimp this. And I forgot to say, these wire guardians that I've got here are the ones that came in the box too. So I'm going to put my crimp tube on and one of my wire guardians. Now I'm going to go down the other channel of my wire guardian, back through my crimp tube, actually I think I would rather crimp the other side first, and I'll tell you why. I know that's weird, but when I do the first side, I don't bother with putting my wire through a bead, because I don't do that until the second side, because I do it on the second side to try to get my hands out of the way and to center that last bead over the wire guardian over that last bead. And I don't think I would be able to get back through these pearls with my wire. Again, I might be able to get back through those gemstones with my wire, but I don't think I could get back through these pearls because they have very tiny little holes. So I'm going to do this side first, and then hopefully when I do the side with the gemstones, I can get back through one of them with my wire. So try to get back through this crimp tube. Now I'm going to tuck my little wire guardian in a little bit. Now I'm going to make sure to keep my wires from being crossed, because when I get done, I swear there's a piece of thread every time. Every time I try to do one of these videos, there's a piece of thread that's attacking me. Doesn't bother me when I'm not trying to do video. Now I'll pull my wire through. I'm going to make sure to keep my wires from being crossed, because when I crimp, I want both of my wires to land in their own little individual channel, and if they're crossed, they won't do that. Now I'm going to take these crimping pliers, and I'm going to go in that part that has the tooth there. I'm going to lay the tooth on top, squeeze, and that puts each wire in its own little channel. And now I'm going to go into the part here. There's 3 half circles on either side. I'm going to go into the part that has the middle one, because that's the one for the 2x2 crimp tubes. I'm going to lay my crimp in there, squeeze, a good tight squeeze, and now I'm going to tug, and that's good. So now I'm going to cut off my extra wire, and now I'm going to go to this end, and I'm going to push all this down. I want to make sure there's no slack in my thread, but I don't want my piece to be too tight either, because if it's too tight it won't drape well. So I usually just coil it around like that, and it keeps it from being too tight. And make sure everything's in its place, and I don't have an extra seed bead anywhere, because that happens sometimes to me. So now I'm going to take my other crimp tube, put it on here, and my other wire guardian. I'm going to go back down the other channel of my wire guardian. Back into my crimp tube. Hold on to my wire guardian and pull my wire through, and make sure my wires are not crossed. Let's see if I can get through this gemstone bead down here. Yeah, there we go. Now I'm going to hold on to my wire guardian and pull my wire through. Make sure my wires are not crossed. Pull my wire through till there's no more. Like I said, we don't want to have any slack, but we don't want to tuck in my little wire guardian here. don't want to have any slack, but you don't want it to be too tight either. So I think that looks okay. So now I'm going to go in the part with the tooth again. Lay the tooth on top. Squeeze. Now turn it and go in the half circles. Lay my crimp in there. Squeeze. Give it a good tight squeeze. And now I'm going to tug. That's good. So now I'm going to cut off my extra wire. So got that part done, and I'm going to stop just a minute because it's coming a really, really heavy storm here, and I'm afraid my power is going to go out, so I'll be back in a second. Okay, I think most of it is past now. It was raining really heavy there for a while, and I was afraid my power was going to go out. Now I'm going to take one of my little chains I've made here with my tulip bead on it, and I'm going to open the end without the tulip bead. And I'm going to thread it onto my link I made with my pearl here. And I'm going to close it back. Make sure to get it closed back really well. And now I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Open up my loop. Thread it onto my link. Close my loop back. Now I'm going to take a 4mm jump ring and open it up and attach this end of my necklace and my little link with my danglies on it here. Close my jump ring back. Be sure to get it closed back really well. Now I'm going to take a 6mm jump ring and open it up. Thread this side of my necklace on. And attach it to my ring. Close it back up really well. So that is my completed lariat. Let me put it through here. We can see what it looks like. Kind of hard to see, I know, because it's very long. And I'll try to get it laid out better after I make these earrings, and I'll try to get it all laid out better. And then I'll try to put it on my bust, so it'll probably look better hanging. So hold on, I'm gonna make a little pair of earrings here, and I'll be back. Okay, now I'm going to make a super simple and easy pair of earrings. So I got a ball head pin. I'm going to put my tulip bead on here. Take my pliers, go to the tip of the pliers, bend over at a 90-degree angle, take my round nose pliers and put them in the crook of the bend. Round nose pliers facing me, bend the wire back until it hits the bead, rotate the pliers till they're facing the table, take this part under here until it hits the bottom of the tool, kink the wire back until the loop is centered over the bead. Take my bent chain nose pliers and hold on to my loop. Bring this wire down a little bit. Take my other pair of bent chain nose pliers and start to wrap. Just going to wrap till there's no more room to wrap. I want to try to get that tight against that tulip bead so it won't spin around. It's probably going to anyway, but I'm going to take my cutters and cut off my extra wire. I'm going to take my crimping pliers and tuck in a little burr. Now I've got a piece of 22 gauge wire here. It's probably about 4 inches or so. I'm going to go down about 1.5 inches. Bend over at a 90-degree angle. Round those pliers in the crook of the bend. Bend the wire back until it hits the tool. Rotate the pliers till they're facing the table. Take this part under here until it hits the bottom of the tool. Kink the wire back until the loop is centered over the wire. Now I'm going to open my loop. Thread on my little tulip dangle I've made here. Well, I know that's open enough. There we go. Now I'm going to close my loop back. I'm going to take my bent chain nose pliers and hold on to my loop. Take this part down. Wrap the short piece of wire around the long piece of wire. About 3 times. I'm going to take my cutters, cut off my extra wire. I'm going to take one of my little bicones. An 11-0. I know this will go on here. There it goes. My pearl. Another 11-0. And another bicone. Now I'm going to take my pliers and I want my loop to face opposite this loop down here so that it'll hang right on my ear wire. So I'm going to go to the very tip of the pliers. And get it turned around here so it's going to face the right way. Well, it just doesn't seem to want to. I'll bend over at a 90-degree angle. Put my round nose pliers in the crook of the bend. Bend the wire back until it hits the beads. Rotate the pliers till they're facing the table. Take this part under here until it hits the bottom of the tool. Kink the wire back until the loop is centered over the beads. Take my bent chain nose pliers and hold on to my loop. Take this part down. My other pair of bent chain nose pliers and start to wrap. wrap till there's no more room to wrap. I'm going to take my cutters, cut off my extra wire, take my crimping pliers and tuck in my little burr. You want to be super, super gentle here, because if you're not, you'll crack that little bicone. Now I'm just going to open up my ear wire, thread on my earring, close my ear wire back, there's a little super easy earring to go with my lariat. So hold on, I'll make the other one, and then I'll be back and I'll try to get this all laid out. So I'll be back. Okay, there's my lariat and pair of earrings made with some of the beads that came in the most recent Potomac Beads Treasure Edition subscription box. The one for February 2024 called Everlasting Embrace. There were some beautiful beads in this box. Of course, they always have beautiful beads in their boxes and such high quality beads and findings. And like I said, I'll leave a link in the description box below that will take you to the page on the Potomac Beads website where you can read about how both the subscriptions work, and where you could subscribe if it's something you'd be interested in. I hope you all have enjoyed this video. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate those of you who have subscribed to my channel and watched my videos and liked and commented on my videos. I have a website where I sell my jewelry. I also sell gift cards and some extra beads and findings that I have. It's Teresa's Handmade Jewelry, and I'll put a link to it in the description box below in case you're interested, along with a link to my Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and my email. If you haven't, I'd really love it if you'd subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified when I upload a new video. So until next time, I hope y'all have a great day. Take care.